And what I've learned for myself is, not only is the science and the work important, but there are so many other things in life that you have to combine to become a full, complete individual. So I've been doing these things which I call experiment with self-awareness, and Atul has been very kind to allow me to express my opinions in these kind of forums. So thank you.
Thank you, Naren, and we're all looking forward to hearing from you. We are, I think, 30 seconds away from starting. We are live on YouTube right now. I see another 100 odd attendees in YouTube and another 50 here. So another 30 seconds with your permission. Gurpreet ma'am, Bindu ma'am, Bhavana ma'am will start. So just give me 30 seconds and we will start. So yeah, the link is out. So if you allow me, Naren, Gurpreet ma'am, Bindu ma'am, Bhavana ma'am, can I start?
Yes,
Yes. Thank you.
All the best.
So good evening, everyone. Good evening, attendees. Good evening, Gurpreet ma'am, Bindu ma'am, Bhavana ma'am. And good morning, Naren. It's very early for you. You're in Philadelphia right now in the US.
Yes.
Welcome to Ideas That Matter. Ideas That Matter, the series of webinars by Shulini University, Kasoli Hills, Himachal Pradesh. We started this very small around 10 weeks back, and yesterday was my 100th webinar. And I'm so excited because I've spoken to around 100,000 teachers now, and we've had some amazing sessions, I think, with some of you also. And it's so exciting to talk to teachers. It's so exciting because I think teachers are so smart and teachers are so passionate. And I think in today's world, teachers are also, they have adopted technology so beautifully, Naren. And it's so exciting to talk to all of you. Very quickly, to introduce our presenter today, we have Dr. Naren Chirmule. Dr. Naren is a very dear friend, visiting and a distinguished professor at Shulini University. But he's got lots of laurels under his belt. He's a PhD, of course. He taught at the University of Pennsylvania, which is an Ivy League university, one of the top 10 universities of the United States. He then joined the corporate world. He was with a company called Amgen, which is one of the largest technology and biotechnology companies of the world. He was heading research there. And then he did the Swades, which means he came back to India, like Shah Rukh Khan, to join Biocon, where he headed research. And I think you might want to talk a bit about your insulin story. I think that was something that you drove, getting insulin into the Indian market. And I think, if I'm not wrong, that was a bit of your brainchild, Naren. So that's Naren's story. He retired from, or decided to retire from, Biocon, and now he travels the world. His passion is speaking to teachers and students and sharing his knowledge of what he's learned over the years. And we're going to have an absolutely fascinating talk. He's also, Naren, by the way, is also a great follower of music. So he plays the tabla, he sings, and he also plays the flute. So you can't escape that, Naren. So you're going to play the flute today. Okay. My name is Atul Khosla. As a quick background, I'm the founder and pro-vice chancellor of Shulini University, Kasoli Hills. I'm a BTech from IIT Kanpur. I'm an MBA and then spent 20 years in the industry, different parts of the world, 7 different countries. Did a bit of work in healthcare also, Naren. So I used to consult for Novo Nordisk, which is one of the big manufacturers of insulin in the world. I think 2013, the teaching bug hit me, and I now teach, and I love teaching. I love doing these webinars. I love talking to students, young students, teachers, everyone, and I'm so delighted to be here today. So I won't take much time. I once again welcome all of you. I think we have quite a few attendees now, and we're going to hand it over to Naren. I'm going to come in a couple of times, show you a couple of videos, make you jealous also about where I live. I think Gurpreet ma'am, of course, lives in Solan, so she will associate with that. But we're going to tease people from Delhi and Noida a little bit.
Yeah.
And Naren, over to you for this. Let's be as creative as it gets today, okay?
Yeah, thank you so much
So
again.
I'll request every panelist to please switch off their video and mute themselves. And I'll request the attendees, please keep asking questions. Please put on your comments on Q&A and on the chat. And we'd love to answer all your questions. I promise 100% of them. Naren Chirmule, over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for the kind invitation and also the ability to present what I call experiments in self-awareness. And this is a series of talks that I have decided to give with Atul, where I think we are exploring how figuring out yourself is a way to live better in life. And there are many ways you can become aware of yourself. And today I've chosen to choose a topic of writing uh, to become self-aware. So I'll speak to that. Just a quick background about myself. I think it is useful to see the speaker's presentation. Also, my journey has been quite complex. I did my high school in Kendriya Vidyalaya from Lucknow, and then I went to the US and did my postdoctoral fellowship there, where I worked primarily on biologics and vaccine development. I've been focusing on trying to speak and do public speaking because I think it has a lot of elements of, understanding the world. If you're able to articulate it, your thought process also becomes a little better. And I'll speak about that a little bit more during the talk. And I like to talk about inflection points. And for me, my inflection point early in my career was potentially to do a PhD or a marketing job. And both of them are great career opportunities, but I chose to do my PhD. And so my career made a fork in the road at that time. And that's how it's a point in the career that is important for the decision to make. About 5 years ago, there was another inflection point that I had to make, which is should I continue to stay in the US and work in other companies or come back to India? And I decided to come back to India. And now I live both in India and the US. And that decision has changed my life completely. I mean, the things I can do and the experiences I've had are far beyond the expectations that I ever could have imagined. So that's sort of my quick background. So today I'll talk a little bit about a process of becoming self-aware, and then I'll use the process of writing or scientific writing as a process to understand how you look at yourself and how you look at things in depth. So awareness is a state of being conscious about something. So how does one become aware? Uh, you have to be very observant of your surroundings and senses. You have to do things mindfully, pause between activities that you do, and listen. I think these are very simple things that are very obvious, but a lot of us don't do that very carefully, and me included. I mean, all of us are in phases of our lives where we are not aware of things that are happening around us. So the methodologies of being aware, there can be many. These are some that I will explain to you that I have tried. So on a piece of paper on my notebook, I draw these concentric circles. I draw a circle in the middle and then the circles around them. And I call the middle circle you or me. Uh, and you write what you are interested in without worrying about anything else. So for example, I love to play the flute these days. I write blogs, articles. I like to make lists, and I like bicycling. So that's what I like to do. In my city, I used to love to go to concerts, but now all the concerts are online. So I have to listen to online concerts. The environment is very beautiful. Bhuvna man was telling us just earlier that the environment is starting to look really nice now, given that we are not interfering with it so much. And then in the city that I live here, suddenly farmers markets have opened up, and it's beautiful to go out and just go into the farmers market and buy your vegetables from outdoors. In the country, of course, lockdown and economy and everything else is inundating us. But there are so many people helping each other. And in the world, more than 25,000 papers have been published on COVID-19's biology. The space program has started, and Black Lives Matters is all over the world. Right? So when you segregate all the things that are happening in these four quadrants, you become more acutely aware when you think of them as a compartmentalized process. So to become aware, this is one of the methodologies to do it. So let's move to writing. all of you are going to be writing a lot during your career and during your school years and beyond. And so learning methodologies to write is allowing your brain to put down what's in your brain onto paper. It's a good methodology to study. So it's an eternal struggle getting stuff from your brain onto paper. Generally, what we see, and all of you might decide which group you are in one of these groups when you start writing. You brainstorm, you have some idea, you read a little bit, you write, you edit, and you're done. Or you could be in a category where you read, right at the last minute and run, finish. You might be in that category. Or the worst case scenario is you read, then panic, and then ask for deadline. You might be one of these is your category, and we are trying to get to the green. Let's see how we get to the green. What you write, you think that you've written a nice, beautiful story from beginning to end. When someone else reads it, the red squiggly line is what they think you've written. So there's a real difference between expectation and reality. And so the awareness of what that is a really important concept in writing. When you start writing, you have to think about what you need, what are the stages of writing, and how do you think about what to write? Those are the things I'll cover today. There are many types of things you can write about. You can write about short stories. You can write a letter. We've forgotten how to write handwritten letters. You can easily write a letter, put a stamp, and send it. In fact, those inland letter cards the blue ones or the yellow ones that are there in the post office, they're actually even available now. Only 5 rupees for each one. So just pick up a letter and start writing. You can write a novel. You can write a scientific article. You can write a poem. So keep writing, I would say. Yeah. Another thing I like to do is actually write by hand. And if you invest in a little bit of a good, nice pen that you love, then automatically you'll write more and more because you have good equipment to do that. So what is the process? In fact, interestingly, the actual process of writing during the writing process is only a small fraction of it. Majority of the thing that you have to do for writing is actually not writing. You have to think, you have to read extensively, and I would say you have to just doodle what you're thinking, and then write. Then writing becomes very easy, and it's an iterative process. You keep going through this circle, and then suddenly you realize you're writing so much more. So let's explore all of these 4 methodologies. First is thinking. When you think, you first think of key messages. And how do you brainstorm? You have a lot of ideas, and how do you capture all those ideas and what you want to do? Then you critically analyze it. Then obviously you make judgments of which one is going to be, and then prioritize something. And then finally you come up with messages, and then you start thinking about that process of what you're going to write about. I read this book a couple of years ago, maybe 5, 6 years ago, which actually is called How to Read a Book. It is an art of reading, written by Mortimer Adler, who's shown here in this picture, who wrote this book in 1937. And what he writes in the book, it's about a 200-page book. What he writes in the book is, first, you have to listen. What happens is, when we read a book, so many times we just look at the book and we read the first page and we say, oh yeah, it's funny laga. This is like boring, or I don't like the writing or whatever. And then you stop reading the book and you go to the next book. But what this book tells you, if you've decided to read a book, please listen to the author the first time. So just read it as if you're listening to the author. Then the second time you read a book, actually this book tells you to read the book 3 times. The second time you read a book, you analyze the book. And this time what you're doing is having a conversation with the author, right? So I like this part, I don't like this part. You're having this talk with the author. The third is the criticizing, which is, and the only time you're allowed to read the book the third time is if you've read another book or another article related to the subject that you're reading. Now you're doing a conversation. You're writing, oh, that person said that, and you're saying this, and I mean this. So then you're criticizing and analyzing even further. When you read the book 3 times like this, you can transform your reading process. And later on, as you get used to the process, you actually don't have to read the book literally 3 times. If you become aware that I'm reading, I'm listening to the author, or if I'm reading, if I'm analyzing, or if I'm criticizing, if you're aware that you're doing these things while reading the book, then the reading of the book becomes much more enjoyable. The book also talks about many other aspects of taking notes, marking, highlighting, discussing, referencing. And with this, I have really, for my own reading, has exponentially increased. After reading this book on how to read a book, I've started reading so much more and so much more methodically. So when I read a book, I actually read a book and then associate it with the next book I want to read and the next book I want to read, and I sort of string a story around the books I'm going to read. So the whole thing becomes a process. Um, uh, before moving to drawing and others, let me invite Atul to really talk a little bit about, from your point of view. There is that I will be later on talking about, how you write and how why writing is important in colleges and also, but maybe you can also shed some light on the importance of writing and how it's useful to be in college in that way.
Absolutely. Thank you, Naren. I'll appreciate if you can stop your
Yeah.
screen. I'll truly appreciate that. So I think the thought which I'd like to bring in over here, which is a little like bit of an extension to what Naren is talking about, is the topic of creativity and the topic of the right brain. So Naren is talking about how to train yourself to read and write and draw and other forms of creativity. And the reason why it's very important is because we're all trained pretty much on a daily basis to use the left side of the brain. So we use data, we calculate, we remember names, we do so many things with the left side of the brain. But when it comes to the right side of the brain, I think we don't exercise it much. But the right side of the brain is so powerful, Naren. It's absolutely amazing. And I'll give a small example over here. Let's think about a big number. Let's think about a 20-digit number, 18467583427892341. I think it's impossible to remember it because the left side of the brain is not as intelligent. Now let's think about the right side of the brain. Naren, think about a song you sang when you were romancing the trees, or you were romancing around the trees, let's say. So let's think about a Kishore Kumar song or whatever song. I think I'm not a good singer, but I'll think about a song. Gunguná rahe hain bhavare khil rahi hain kali kali. Am I right? Yeah. I can remember the tune of this song right up to the nanosecond. And not just for this song, but I can do it for every song, hundreds of songs, even after listening once. And that's the beauty of the right side of the brain. So the moment you start creating stories, the moment you start creating pictures, visuals, learning becomes so much more powerful. And that's why writing comes into play, stories comes into play, drawing comes into play. And to use the right brain, I would try to use the last or the second part of my discussion, which is inspiration. One needs a lot of inspiration to write and use the right brain. And where does inspiration comes from? I think the first part of inspiration comes from being with the right set of people who can motivate you, excite you. But also inspiration comes from being at the right place, a beautiful place. Bhuvna ma'am has got a beautiful seaside picture at the back. How creative, right? But also inspiring. So at this point of time, I'm going to tease all the people in Delhi because I'm going to show a small video of Shulini. And hopefully you'll like it because this inspires me. And this is where I'm sitting. It's beautiful right now. It's raining and so exciting right now. So if you allow me, I'm going to play a small video. Can I, Naren, are you there?
Yeah, please go ahead. Very nice. Very nice.
So, Naren, I believe that inspiration creates world leaders, makes ordinary people extraordinary. So there are lots of teachers here. Probably there might be students. So bring an inspiration into your lives. Bring an inspiration into the lives of your students. It can come from beautiful places, simple things like putting lots of lovely pictures in the classrooms, sending lovely letters to your students. I remember, Naren, one of my teachers sent me a note, a letter saying, Atul, thank you very much for something I've done for her. I still have it. I keep it very close to my heart. Simple things can really, really inspire
Yes.
people, and then magic happens. So I'm going to leave it over here. I'm going to come back, but over to you, Naren.
Thank you so much. That was a beautiful video. Thank you for sharing that. And I've been to Sholini a couple of times, so I can completely vouch for the absolute beauty of this organization. So continuing on the writing process, we talked about thinking. Now I added a thing where you have to draw. So as Atul mentioned, you need to use the right side of your brain because it's there, so you might as well use it. So whatever you do, you keep drawing what's in your mind. You think, you draw, and you make pictures. I think once you draw the picture on your piece of paper, or what's in your mind, it's much easier to explain the picture while you're writing it. So the process becomes much easier if you have visual representation, if you have a schematic flow of how things are flowing, or if you have an idea, how do you expand the idea? So, all of these things, the drawing really, really helps. So, for example, in COVID, uh, we talked about if the green are all the people in the world that are all uninfected, and the red are the infected. uh, I drew a picture saying that, okay, here's how people will get infected. If you're next to a person who's infected with COVID, you'll easily get infected, right? But if I draw red boxes around each green one, which is your social distancing, then now infection will not happen. So this is my representation. It's in my brain already, but this is what the visual representation of social distancing. Another picture that I drew. I have a drawing pad, so I keep drawing. So these are patients who are in the hospital. So either you're in ICU, or you're in an inpatient, you're in an emergency room, or you're an outpatient, etc., etc. What kind of treatment will you get? In ICU, you will get the acute respiratory distress syndrome kind of treatments. Here, you will get anti-inflammatory. If you're inpatient, you might get antiviral treatment. Here, you might get convalescent plasma. And if you're healthy subjects, you might get a vaccine, right? So this is a visual representation of what's already there in my mind. And I just put it on paper. Now it's becomes much simpler to explain it. Then you take on writing. And during writing, there's also a process. You first write the messages. Don't write the whole paper first, a whole article first. You know what your messages are. Focus on the paper. You don't have to write the Ramayana every time, right? You don't have to start that, so and so was born here and all that. So you just get the key messages. You make a table of content where you define the structure. You have an idea of what the whole paper or whole book or whole poem will look like. You write your first draft. The first draft is never going to be perfect. Have people read it, edit, peer review, meaning give it to some other people, get their opinions, and then finalize. It's probably very straightforward, looks very straightforward. And it is. But it comes with a lot of practice. And here, what I do, I write a little bit every day, write something or the other. I write I write blogs. I like art, so I write something on art. I like music, so I write something on music. I like this process of awareness, so I write there. I love science. I write an article, a little bit of an article every day on science. I love to look at artists, so I review artists, and then I'll write a little bit about that artist and put it on my Facebook album. Uh, every week, I write 7 things that I've done. Every day, I do something important, so I write something. I actually write. I like to physically write, and then I write one letter a week, handwritten letter I send to everyone, to whoever I know, and I've been doing that for years. So I'm always in the habit of writing. So writing is not this fantastic thing I have to do. I do it all the time, and so writing becomes much more simpler. Then I need to get feedback on my writing. How do you get feedback? Anyone can give you feedback. Anyone can give feedback. Sometimes we say, okay, I can't give you feedback because I don't know the subject on which you've written. You don't need to know the subject to review for someone else. You can comment on the tense, You can comment of if it's a long sentence. You can comment on whether there are adjectives, unnecessary adjectives or adverbs, shorten the sentences. You can look at the flow. You can make sure that there are no repeating words. You can see whether the punctuation is used correctly or not. So, feedback is such an important thing to give to a writer. And this is an example of a long sentence. This is a little bit for fun, but I'll just make sure that, when you write, you don't want to write long sentences, right? First, let's read the sentence. It's like a very interesting long sentence. Read it. Right, E.B. White and Stuart Little, a very famous book. In the loveliest town of all, where the houses were white, um, and high, and the elm trees were green and higher than the houses, where the front yards were wide and pleasant, and the backyards were bushy and worth finding about, where the streets sloped down to the stream, and the stream flowed quietly into the bridge, where the lawns ended in orchards, and the orchards ended in the fields, and the fields ended in the pastures, and the pastures climbed the hill and disappeared over the top towards the wonderful sky. And this loveliest of all towns, Stuart stopped to drink a little of Sarsapilla. So this is one of the world's longest sentences, but and it's beautiful sentence, but doesn't mean you have to write a long sentence unless it's poetic. Hmm? So this is just a funny thing to say. Don't write long sentences. Okay, now that you've decided to write, how should I come up with what to write? There are many kinds of things you can write. You can write a letter, which is about 250 words. Informative booklet, which is about 500 words. Poem can be, and each page of a article approximately is about 250 words. So when you're writing an informative booklet, it's 2 pages. If you're writing a poem, it could be 4 pages, right? If you're writing a short story, right, it could be about 5 to 10 pages. So when you know the size of these documents, it doesn't become so intimidating to write. Hmm? If you were to write a novel, it could be as a 200-page novel is about 50,000 words. So you take smaller bits and start writing in this space. Um, just from a short story perspective, let's say you want to write a short story that you've decided, you've thought about it, you've drawn things about it, and now you're ready to write. And okay, uh, what do you write about? How do you decide a subject? The subject could be anything. It could come from books that you've read, other short stories you've read. You could look at it from the news, from personal stories, personal things that have happened to you. You can take a story and expand on the existing story, or you can write a historical events. There's so many ideas out there. Just take one and start writing. Uh, I told you before that when you start approaching, the approach to writing is you have to first think and do research, get key messages, doodle your ideas, draw them, right? And then start writing in an orderly way. Create a map of what you want to write and then get feedback. Yeah. I took this class, and there are many classes that you can take for writing, and I love to take this class. Um, it's called Bangalore's world famous semi deluxe writing program. It's actually a wonderful program, and this is what the class looks like. And I'm sure there are many other classes that you could take locally also. I strongly recommend doing a class like this. It will transform how you do, how you write. So let me finish here by in my talk, and I'll hand it over to Atul. That I think the culture of when you study, when you're in school, you have to do many different things, and you have to learn about not just the studies but all the other things, and everything comes together. And when you move on to college from high school, all of things that you've learned now can be very useful to apply in college, and the experience in college becomes much richer. Okay, so I'll stop here and I'll give it back to Atul for a Q&A session. Thank you so much, Atul.
Thank you, Naren. I think writing is so much difficult. I still get sweat when I'm told to write. I think that's true for pretty much everyone, whether it's students or teachers or others. But people who can write well are actually very successful. In fact, as we have discussed, Naren, people who write well and speak well have really already conquered 80% of ability to succeed in life in the conventional sense. Is so important to read and write. So, my last thoughts would be, Naren, like you said, get into storytelling sessions, get into story writing sessions, and there are lots and lots of people helping you on that. Nowadays, you can do that online. It's so much easy. But I think from a speaking perspective, also to write a story or tell a story, join a theater class. You will become better teachers if you learn theater. You will become, even a better person if you do theater, better student. So I went to IIT Kanpur and I studied over there, and I can tell every student over here that you might think that we at IIT are only studying and we are nerds and that's all we do. But probably 70% of the time I was doing some form of theater, or I was flying planes. I'm a qualified pilot, or I was doing politics. And probably I spent 20% of my time studying engineering. And I think that's what made me a good human being. And that's what built my problem solving skills. And I'm sure you have the same story too, Naren. So I think that's the thought I'd like to leave with teachers and leave with the students, that yes, it's important to learn knowledge. But the future of this world, if you want to succeed, it's not going to come from knowledge, because it's all there on Wikipedia. It's all there on AI-based tools. So you need to build EQ. You need to build your emotional intelligence. You need to build me skills, which is ability to lead, ability to be creative, to read, write, perform, and we skills, which is ability to collaborate, ability to work with each other, ability to make sure that things happen on time with the right quality. And these are skills that will take you ahead and are very, very, very important. So don't underestimate those. So I'm very thankful, Naren, that you've picked up this very difficult and interesting topic. And students and teachers, I write a lot because I have to, but I still take sometimes 2 days to write one page. So we are going to come back to writing and how do you go about practicing writing. Naren, let's go into some of the questions. I think Kuldeep Singh is asking, and I'll also request Bindu ma'am, Gurpreet ma'am, and Bhavana ma'am at this juncture to please come and join the panel. I'll appreciate that, ma'am, if all of you can be with me. But I'll first pass this question, to Naren. Kuldeep is asking, what are self-awareness skills learning work for kids? I think he's basically saying, how do you bring self-awareness into children? I think that's a question.
Yeah, no, I think it's a very, very good question, Kuldeep. And I think there's no simple answer to it. I think we are so always outwardly focused. We have so many senses, right? We have eyes, we have ears, we have nose, we are getting all these senses from outside. And we're constantly looking at the outside world and saying, okay, you're judging. I like this person, I don't like this person. I like this place, I don't like this place. I like the school, I don't like the school. You're always judging outside. But sometimes we forget that it's much more illuminating to look inside. And when you start looking inside, it's a very luminous thing. And am I being a good person at every time? Am I evaluating the situation right then all the time? So this habit of looking inside is this process of awareness. And it's very hard to say, hard to ask questions to yourself. Am I doing the right thing all the time? It's very difficult to answer that question all the time. But if you use methodologies like I told you about writing, for example, I give you an example. When you start thinking about when you ask yourself a question, how can I improve my ability to write? And when you start thinking about the question, the answer is what I just told you in this presentation. It's not just the writing, right? You have to think, you have to read, you have to speak, you have to do all of these things to write. And these only come up when you ask these important questions to yourself. So it's a methodology for figuring out. And the more you do it, the better you become.
You became more self-aware, and I'm going to come to Bindu ma'am and Bhavana ma'am also. But, you once told me you became more self-aware when you started playing the flute. So do you have a flute with you, Naren? You want to play that for us?
I do. All right. So one of the things that I've learned music for is I didn't know why I was learning music, but one of the things that it could be is to see what you can do with yourself. So I've started learning the flute formally about 2 years ago from a 25-year-old guru of mine. His name is Aditya Sutar. He lives in Sangli, which is a little bit, which is outside of Pune, and we have classes twice a week, and so he teaches online. So it's a lot of fun. So I'll play a little bit.
Amazing, amazing,
Amazing.
wonderful.
So one of the things to become aware of is, you have to, and this is what my guru tells you. I'm playing the flute, but I need to know which swar I'm playing. I'm playing sa. Am I playing re? Am I playing ga? I have to know what note it is. Just, of course, the sound is sounding good, but for me, technically, I need to know what I'm playing. Otherwise, I won't be able to scale up. I want to be able to play faster if I don't know what I'm playing, right? That is one thing that he's taught me. The other thing is, in order to play a long note, I have to be aware that I have to take a big breath. Because if I don't take a big breath, I won't be able to play the long note, right? So it allows you to become aware of so many things unconsciously.
Very true.
So fantastic. This comes back to the whole topic of softer skills and performing arts and things which we typically miss out, as we get into high school, Bindu ma'am, there's so much pressure for preparing for NEET and IIT. So what is your message to your teachers and to students here? I mean, I genuinely believe that these are things that we need to work on, but what would you like to say, ma'am?
See, I would like to say, first of all, I would like to thank sir for giving such a very lucid example in terms of flute, how it has been correlated to awareness. I really hats off to you, sir. And I would just say, my students, I think every student who's a part of this, session, I would say, just be yourself, right? Just invest in the process. That is more important. When you start investing in the process, and obviously it's very obvious that you have a goal, it's perfectly fine. But when you start investing in the process, even if you don't crack that IIT, but you end up being a wiser person, a learned person. So that is more important, that how we grow every moment. Like sir was talking about, self-awareness. So I'm reminded of the Zuhari window. Sir, I think that is what we need to know, every aspect, so that we know the unknown also. A lot of people know about us what we don't know. So that is, and for writing, I would say, for the students who are there in this competitive world, I think it is, the first thing is, being sound in life skills. Because the way we see that people, they end up there, like you talked about EQ. I think now EQ has become more important than IQ. So that's very, very important, that how we handle our emotions. And along with that, as sir has talked about, the writing skills, obviously they lead to enhancement of metacognitive skills. So writing, I think the way you have told, sir, I've also written my points, and I've written 7 accomplishments a week. I would also be writing. So that's my takeaway, and my takeaway to write 4 letters. So I think all the students have been greatly benefited by this. And one very important aspect to all the aspirants, I would say, would be consistency. When we are consistent in our approach, then obviously stress is not there. And if we leave it to tomorrow, and then it comes the last day deadline and we are nowhere. So this is what I would like to, say. Thank you.
Even I
Naren, I'm
will.
going to be back in a second. Bhuwana, ma'am, why don't you continue? I'll just be back in a second.
Yes, yes, ma'am. You can carry on, Gurpreet, ma'am.
I
ma'am.
even I will. Very good evening to everyone. Even I feel my takeaway is 7 accomplishments. That is the thing, which we should definitely write
Definitely.
down at every age. What we are going to, what we are learning new, what has made us creative, what are our dreams. And I want to tell, Atul is not there, but I just want to tell that he's a dreamit. He's a dreamist. He dreams a lot, the way he writes down. And he is poetry about so many things, about Shuleni University, about nature, about so many things. The way he writes, and then he writes his vision. I really admire it. And I think, I have become very fond of him, because I connect to him somewhere, in the same way, because I also see lot many dreams. And I tell everyone that one should see the dreams and try to accomplish those. And when we have a people like Narendra, who has played flute, at this time, and he's
That is
taking
inspired.
online classes. It is not a small thing to tell the teachers and students that though it is a lockdown, but the learner has not to lock himself anywhere. For him the continuity has to go on. So that is wonderful. And Atul, I want to share with you both these
Yes,
young
ma'am.
principals who are
Ma'am.
sitting
I
here.
also wanted to share that. I
uh,
also
uh,
wanted to share
and
that.
1 minute, 1 minute. I want to tell you that they were my PGTs when I was their principal at Ropar.
Okay, okay.
And both of them, they were so creative. And especially, I remember the way meticulously the Bhuvna will not leave her physics class and will go on teaching the students and was never tired. And I knew it that this girl is going to rise up to a big thing. And so she has made up her mark. And for
Thank you,
Bindu,
ma'am. Thank you.
if I talk about creativity and about going all the way out, I do not have words to mention. She
Thank you, ma'am.
came with me for the first time when we went to the
Yes.
conference. Huh?
2003.
Uh, uh,
2003. Listen.
listen conference. And
Yeah.
the way she took the notes and all that. So I knew it that she is principal in making, a big leader in making. And when we have people like you, who give us chances, and we have these kind of sessions. So I'm sure that the people get inspired. And
Definitely.
what you said, and Narendra also said, that we have to think about the inspiration somewhere. What is our inspiration, where we are going to hit back from. So that matters. And to all the young students and the teachers, I would like to say, see the dreams, but keep on seeing the dreams which you definitely should accomplish. And there should not be hurdles anywhere in your way. It should not be like that I cannot do is right. You go forth and think about that well, what best I can do, how I can make my mark, what I can leave for this world, what is going to be my legacy, kind of thing. There are many young children who see you people like legends, and they also want to become one. So inspiration comes from a role model also, I think. Who's your role model? My role model is Amitabh Bachchan, let me tell you, and my own husband. Huh?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
my own husband is my role model. So, I think,
Fantastic.
so, this is where we get inspiration from. And
Thank you, ma'am.
very
Ma'am, but
nice.
you have mentored also here. I would say on behalf of me and Bhuvna, ma'am, that you are
Yes.
our true mentor because you gave us all those opportunities that we could learn.
We explore the things.
Yeah, yeah. So
Uh,
you are a
Thank
true
you, sir.
mentor. Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Narendra
Bindu,
sir.
ma'am. Thank you, Gurpreet,
They're
ma'am. Thank
making
you,
the
Bhavna, ma'am.
excellent
I'm very keen to pick up some questions over here.
Yeah.
Some,
Yes.
I think students are also writing. And
Yeah.
I very specifically want to pick up, Prab Kaur is saying, I'm very
Yeah,
sad
I'm
today.
sorry.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
why
I
Even
want,
I also given the reply to
Naren,
that.
I want you to talk about it. How do we get out of the sadness? How do we bring
Nukku.
creativity into our lives so that we can get away from
Given
this
the
so-called
reply to
depression
her
and
also.
sadness?
It is about our thought.
Yeah.
If I'm telling, if you
Yes,
think
ma'am.
the
Bhavna,
thought
ma'am,
you
please go
think.
ahead.
Only you can think the thought you think. Only you define your experience. So it is only you can give your peace of mind and stress out. When you take the personal responsibility, what I feel that our thought realize the one out there
Out there.
and bring the peace and pain to our mind without our permission. Who will make to us to take this responsibility? So I'm really appreciate Narendra sir, which given the idea about that self-awareness, which is the key factor to I catch the thing. So you know, do get it from yourself first to change, bring the changes, awareness, and that will bring definitely to your nearby one. Like given in the form of drawing or maybe in the writing or wherever, whatever way you want to express yourself. And so knowing yourself is a better way to come out of the thing. I think so. Prabnokor, if you are hearing, please become out of the things.
And I would say, start doing something.
Personal respect.
Absolutely. I would also say start doing something creative. For example,
Yes.
Bindu ma'am, I started cooking,
Oh,
and
wow.
every day I do something
Great.
different.
Wonderful.
Do something that you've never done before, Prab, and there's no reason why you should feel sad. There's someone who's saying, I want to fight with you right now, right?
Yes, same.
Maybe they're missing the school. Maybe they're missing their, peer group and school.
That's right.
So that's the reason.
Don't do that. I think Corona will go away. It's not there for all our lives. Your lives are more important.
There's a question in the chat also by by Deepika Sharma. In chat also, there's a question. You can take that
We need
question.
someone you'd reply. The real changes our mindset up at the time, isn't it? Deepika Sharma.
You want to pick that up, Bindu ma'am? And then we can have Naren respond to it.
Sir,
Yes.
yeah, Narendra, please kindly. It is written, sometimes we need someone who really change our mind setup at that time, isn't it?
So can mentors and role models change your mind? I think that's what probably your friends.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think it's very important. And as all of you, Bhuvna ma'am, you, Bindu, and Gurpreet ma'am, all of you have said the right things, which is, and thank you for taking that note about writing the 7 things every week. It was taught to me by one of my professors when I was in University of Pennsylvania. He said, you should try doing this. What happens is, in our mind, we feel kuch kiya nahi, kuch kiya nahi, kuch kiya hi nahi. Like I feel like I'm depressed because I don't think I've accomplished anything. But if you sit down at the end of the week, let's say Friday or Saturday sometime, and just sit, it takes 10 minutes, right? And think about, what have I done in this whole last week, right? In fact, there's a lot of things you've done. We don't even realize it. And until you write it down, you won't know that you've done all of these things. It could be, ek din main sirf soya raat din bhar, kuch nahi, sirf soya, right? But that is also, soch samajh ke soye, that is actually bahut acha hai, right? So it's an accomplishment, even if it sounds mundane. And that list, you're not trying to prove to anybody कि कुछ किया है, मैंने ये देखो मैंने क्या किया है, ऐसा नहीं है, खुद को ही बता रहे हो, तो खुद सच ही बताओगे ना अपने को झूठ क्यों बताओगे? So once you do that, it becomes better. So Deepika, one of the questions that you're asking, how we need someone to really inspire you. Yes, you absolutely need someone to inspire you. You look around you, there are a lot of people who can be inspired, but your mind has to be open to be inspired. One thing that Picasso said. Picasso has I like this statement that he said very well, right? There's inspiration everywhere, right? But inspiration needs to see you working. If you're not working, there's no inspiration. No matter what. Like Gurpreet ma'am said, Amitabh Bachchan can do fantastic things, right? But unless Gurpreet ma'am does something about it, that inspiration is meaningless.
Very right.
So inspiration needs to find you working.
So well said.
Well
I think passion के ऊपर एक छोटा सा dialogue है शाहरुख खान का, which I like to recite. इतनी शिद्दत से तुम्हें पाने की कोशिश की है कि जर्रे जर्रे में हमें मिलाने की कोशिश की है. So I think that's so true. आप मेहनत कीजिए. I think that's true for teachers also. I think to me, I speak a lot about finding success within nowadays. How do we feel successful? To me, Naren, for a teacher, getting students successful is actually nothing more satisfying, and that's really success. And in my mind, getting ordinary students, making them extraordinary, that's really the key. And that can happen if you bring in a new way of thinking, make them fearless, bringing creativity into them, and magic happens. Something happens. And I'll request all teachers to bring creativity into how they teach. That's so very important in how they sort of do things.
Can I
I think this Ronak is asking one question. Sorry, I will come to you in a second, Naren. And he's saying, how do I remember what I learn? I think, Naren, you wanted to pick this up, right? How do I remember what I learn?
Okay, that's a very good question. Let me take you back to the story that I told you about reading a book. Okay? So what happens is when you read a book, right? You're using, let's say, this part of your brain. Okay? So when you're reading a book, you're using this part of your brain. And maybe this part of your brain, is not very developed or whatever. पढ़ते नहीं हो तो ये बढ़ेगा कैसे बढ़ेगा? Like if you don't read, that part of your brain is not going to be. But you love drawing, right? This part of your brain is very, very active because you're drawing all the time, right? And as Atul mentioned earlier, right? Now, if you read a book and you sort of write down from the book what you have read, that part that you have written down will now go in this side of your brain, what you have read. So your ability to remember on this side of the brain is a little bit better than this side of the brain. So if you read a book and you write down what you wrote and you read what you write, now you're using your eyes to read, not your ears or brain, then it lodges into another place. I'll tell you an example. After I was not a great student in high school. And after many, many years, and my mother used to like, not beat me, but catch me from going outside to play, and she used to make me sit in the bedroom with her, and she would say, "Pada bhi," right? And she was also a school teacher, and so I didn't feel like studying at all because I could not read. I was like never interested in reading. She said, "Don't read. Don't even bother to read. Don't even bother to read." वो physics का बोल ना पूरा copy कर दे पीछे यहाँ पे. So what I used to do is I used to copy the whole. I'm going to use this word. I used to copy the whole damn book into a notebook. Right, and my mother used to say, you don't even have to think. Don't even think what you're writing. Just copy. वहाँ जो लिखा है यहाँ लिख दो. Right. Not many years later did I realize that you can't write unless you think and read. I was thinking I was just copying, but you can't copy if without thinking, and that is going into your brain in some way.
One of the things, Naren, now that you're talking about it, what I used to do was I used to create stories, especially and so, for example, I used to read my history book like a story, and it became so much easier because stories you'll remember, Ronak. So there are different techniques of remembering, and we can go on and on and on. And I think these are big topics. And Manmohan wants to become a singer and saying, what stream should I take? I think he's probably asking, what should I study? So, Gurpreet ma'am, you want to pick this up? What should Manmohan study to, I don't know whether it's a he or a she, but what should Manmohan study to become a singer?
Sing means
it is a chat or like what?
It's a question. It's a question, right?
It's a question.
Okay. He says
he wants to become a singer. So what should I study after the 12th?
So for becoming a singer, I think he should go and go to some music academy, and he should try for more lively sessions where there are many TV shows where he can project himself and all that. He can participate, and then from all this he can pick up whether he is really perfect for it or not, because there are many opportunities these days, and if it is your passion, you would definitely do it. As I have often seen that Neha Kakkad was nowhere when she participated in Indian Idol, and she was 10th finalist probably, and now she is one of the best judges everywhere, so he should also
she's
do
India's #1 singer now, man.
Yeah, singer. And she's everywhere. So
I would answer it slightly differently, Gurpreet ma'am, and probably Naren, you can also add to it. I would say do anything you love to do right now. कुछ भी study करो, but अगर आपका passion है तो उस पे बहुत time लगाओ, सीखो, scientifically learn करो और खूब रियाज करो. रियाज के बिना कुछ नहीं हो सकता. नरेन, आप गाना गाते हो तो आप बताओ आपने कैसे सीखा?
Gurpreet ji ने already बताया कि you have to go to the places where they teach and सीखना चाहिए.
गुरु ढूंढना पड़ेगा, I think.
गुरु अच्छे ढूंढना पड़ता है, लेकिन अगर मन लगाओ ना, वो कहते हैं ना कि अगर सच्ची मन लगा के करो तो गुरु आ जाता है अपने ही आप, सामने आ जाएगा गुरु। इतना मतलब इतना कायनात पीछे पड़ जाती है, वो होता है ना स्टोरी कि अगर तुम इतना चाहो तो पड़ जाती है पीछे तुम्हारे का, तुम इतना चाहोगे तो वो मिल जाएगा तुमको वो।
तो basically it is passion and practice. He has to have the
absolutely.
passion, and then he has to keep on practicing for that, and he'll find n number of opportunities coming his way.
Yeah, I don't want to discourage you from doing music. You should absolutely follow music and passion. But I will tell you, like for example, my daughter, when she was younger, she used to love to do ballet. She actually graduated from college doing ballet and biology. But she herself will tell me and tell you, she's now 31 years old. She herself will tell you it's actually much more difficult to succeed in ballet than in medicine. Ballet, very difficult. The only that pyramid is very steep in music and all that, very steep. एक ही श्रेया घोषाल है, एक ही ये किशोर कुमार है, right? लेकिन मैनेजमेंट में अतुल खोसला है, मैं हूँ, ये लोग बहुत सारे सक्सेसफुल MBAs है।
So रौनक पूछ रहे हैं how to study more and sleep less. रौनक, बहुत ज्यादा पढ़ने की जरूरत नहीं है, पूरा 8 घंटे सोया करो। मैं आपको अपनी स्टोरी बताता हूँ। मैं IIT में सिलेक्ट हुआ, मैं सोलन का बच्चा हूँ, बहुत ज्यादा नंबर नहीं आते थे, 76% आए थे मेरे 12th में। और मैं आपको सच्ची बात बता रहा हूँ, मैं 3 घंटे रोज पढ़ता था। मैं शो तो मम्मी पापा को करता था, मैं 8 घंटे पढ़ रहा हूँ, बट मैंने एक छोटी सी ना नोटबुक बना रखी थी बिंदु मैम, उसमें मैं लिखता था स्टडीड, हाउ मच डिड आई शो आई स्टडीड एंड हाउ मच डिड आई एक्चुअली स्टडी। मेरा जो एक्चुअल स्टडी साल का वो 2.2 आवर्स था पर डे। सो अगर आप दिल लगा के 2 से 3 घंटा 4 घंटा रोज पढ़ोगे वो बहुत है, पर दिल लगा के पढ़ना, कंसंट्रेट, फोकस के साथ, फोकस।
Even if you're spending 1 hour, is more than sufficient enough for you.
It has to be qualitative.
Concentrate.
और पढ़ना है आप, और सोना है आपको, सारे आपके टीचर्स बताएंगे 8 घंटे सोना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है।
बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट।
8 घंटे नहीं सोगे तो दिमाग आपका काम नहीं करेगा, दिमाग काम नहीं करेगा, आप लर्न नहीं कर पाओगे। आई होप, आई एम श्योर ऑल ऑफ अस एग्री विद दैट, Bhuvan.
Yeah.
Exactly.
One of the question asked by Tito after 12th, what to do to join as an arts course. So after 12th, you have a lot of opportunity to join as an arts courses. Which arts you want to like to join, accordingly you can select the things in nearby you, and then you can pursue about it. Okay, it's asked by
Absolutely. I think I'll also say, ma'am, कि अगर आप 12th के बच्चे हो तो जो आप कोर्स पढ़ते हो तो है इम्पोर्टेंट, बट यूनिवर्सिटी इज मोर इम्पोर्टेंट देन द कोर्स। सो ऐसी यूनिवर्सिटी ज्वाइन करो, एब्सोल्युटली, जहाँ पे फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी हो, इंस्पिरेशन हो, आपको जगह पसंद हो, जहाँ पे आपके अच्छे दोस्त मिले, आई थिंक वो बहुत क्रिटिकल है। सो चूज द राइट यूनिवर्सिटी। सो हैप्पी टू टॉक अबाउट Shulini if you feel like. Anyway, we're coming to an end. I think we've got 3 minutes left, and I'm very tempted to ask each one of you one question each. Can I do that, Naren?
Yes.
So I'm first going to ask Gurpreet,
I hope
ma'am.
it's not difficult.
So very easy. Gurpreet, ma'am, आप आजकल क्रिएटिविटी के लिए क्या करते हैं, ये बताओ।
Well, recently I've become dadi, so I am learning to change nappies,
Okay.
and this is my creativity, and I was longing for it. I am at Gurugram these days. My son is blessed with a son, so this is my creativity.
Congratulations, man.
Congratulations.
So this is my
Congratulations, man. And one thing I would like to say, Rahul is our student, mine and Bhuvna ma'am's.
Yes.
So,
Congrats.
So he has studied from both of you and is a big fan of yours, So he is very successful engineer, working as vice president in industry buying. At a small age, he has reached there. It is because of wonderful gurus, and I am enjoying all this. And besides this, these days I'm reading a lot. I'm reading very inspirational books these days. And I really, as Narendra was telling, that, I am reading and then I'm writing down also. Earlier I never did it. I wrote it. I just read it. Now I'm taking the notes also out of it, because, I know it. I am in my 60th year. And after this, I have to plan out certain other things. So I am very hungry, very thirsty for, good books. And I want to write down also, taking sessions here and there, online sessions. So, this is keeping me busy. But yes, now for with the 7 accomplishments, I'm going to draw also. This I'm going to definitely do it.
Yes.
This will be
Bindu
one.
ma'am, आप क्या कर रहे हैं आजकल? What are you doing?
See what ma'am has said, taking sessions also, and plus planning a lot of holistic growth activities for my students. Like we are running school programs, innovate while you isolate. So we are running a lot of programs for the students' life,
Wow.
and for my personal growth, what I'm doing is I in a big way into meditation. So
Fantastic.
transcendental meditation, so that is one, working on self, that we had somewhere forgotten over the years, serving the family, serving students, doing our job. So somewhere I'm giving me time also, making like ma'am said, making my notes and giving presentations. I'm a resource person for CBSE for online sessions, and along with that, taking very lot of sessions for my staff also and for my students also, because like we are talking about students, so what I feel that at this moment of lockdown, what is happening is they don't have any vent out.
Yeah.
What they are doing is, बच्चों को टीचर ने homework दे दिया online and you have to finish up the work, where they do understand and they don't understand, that's something else, right? Then parents come and they are just giving them instruction, do this, तुम ये नहीं कर रहे, you are all together on phone. So somewhere I really pity their state right now, because there is no one to listen to them. So what I do is I've started a principal session, Rubaru, where I get in touch with the students and talk to them, just journal talk. So I just talk to them, narrate some stories to them, or for the junior ones, I make some questions where I ask them some fun games or something like that. So that is what, then working on project based learning for students, so that when they go for vacation, they work on projects and then they become more research oriented. So this is also one thing that we are doing, and we are coming up with live sessions of yoga, aerobics, gatka also. We are getting the traditional art back. So we have today also, we had live session of gatka. So that way we are having a lot of counseling sessions and parent session on anger management, how to develop study skills. Because what I feel is, this is the right time where we can catch them, because they don't have to come to we don't have to have any preparation except for brain preparation, that's it.
Yeah,
Because we don't have to set up a auditorium or
So
some
right.
PA system, nothing. You And it was such amazing when I was taking one session, one mother was attending the session from kitchen. So she was rolling that making chapatis and listening to the session. Dadi is listening to the session. So it was so amazing that you feel that now, going out of the house is not a bar. You don't have to dress up and go and all. Kai mothers कहती, we don't, we cannot come to the school for sessions. So now I would like to say that one innovation that I'm just trying to, tomorrow I have the first session of that. We are trying to get all those, value system through maybe Guru Granth Sahib, through Ramayana, through Mahabharata. So this is one more thing that I am planning, and tomorrow we have the first session. Let's see how successful we are going to be. But we are trying के इस टाइम पे हम values के ऊपर जोर दे दें, and we are carrying out very socio-emotional learning sessions also on emotions, on empathy, then how to make decision making. So we are trying to give them these skills, because पढ़ाई तो स्कूल खुलेंगे तो हो ही जाएगी. So this is what I feel I'm working on myself also, getting into the spiritual end, right? And increasing my knowledge by attending a lot of webinars and all, also taking my notes, and plus working on for the students also. That's
wonderful.
So this is what. Thank
Bhavna
you.
ma'am, आप क्या कर रहे हैं आजकल?
Same almost what she is told, the thing first improving my ICT skills, and especially in this online classes, it is about cyber security and safety. I'm working on that, and taking as a COE of Noida CBSE resource person, and apart from that, guiding my students, my teachers in this field. And as she rightly said that syllabus तो कभी भी करवा सकते हैं. This is the time to do the lot of
new things.
innovative ideas.
Absolutely.
We started with the digital summer camps, other things and all. And
Yeah.
we got a lot of good response. Live section, like she told you, we arranged a lot of live section through this online. And in fact, the students now learning how to do this thing. Of course, my teachers are all wonderfully cooperating and doing the things. So this is a collectively, collaboratively, we are learning together.
And all our teachers are Corona warriors, I say. You know, they have
Yeah.
stepped up. Really.
Really as
They
a
indeed
hero.
are. They
So
indeed
warrior.
are. Yeah.
So together we are doing all these things. So major focus on ICT, in my point of
Wonderful.
view. What I am lacking, which I am going to try to improve.
We'll all
This
learn,
lockdown.
ma'am. I mean, it's a journey.
So,
But Naren,
Yeah.
what about you, Naren? You know, apart from the flute which you learned a few years back, what is new that you're really learning from a creativity perspective? Naren, are you there?
The main thing I'm trying to do is to have a routine.
Okay.
Uh,
That's very innovative. I agree.
The internet is a little low.
We can hear you, but we can't. I think you're
I
frozen.
think
There's
looks like the
we lost
internet
you.
is slow.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just trying
I'll, So Naren, I think we can't really hear you. So, but thank you so much. I'd like to add a couple of things. I am, like I said, I'm learning to cook. So I'm learning a few dishes. I baked a lovely cake the other day. And I try to go into the kitchen once in a while. So it's a lot of fun. And I'll agree, everyone or teachers, you know, this is the time to experiment. This is the time to, you know, do things which you always wanted to. So let's do those. That's even true with students, you know. So let's keep learning every day, do all the things we wanted to, read books, write, play the guitar, listen to music. It's beautiful. And the glass is half full, half empty. We can keep complaining and say ki mare gaye, lut gaye, or we can say that there are opportunities for us. So I would belong to the camp of looking at opportunities. I think we should do that too. So that once Corona is over, we come back stronger. And you know, I know some people who are very sympathetic to Sushant Singh Rajput. I personally disagree with any such thing. I cannot make someone like that my role model. I think we all should be very strong, and we all have to we should not succumb to any stress or sadness, and we should
never give up.
Move on in life, never give up.
Never.
So
There's
it was
beautiful.
so.
There's a very beautiful.
ahead.
Harmandeep has written, "Sir, I started bird watching."
Bird watching, yeah.
Yeah. So that's really.
I don't know what he means by that. I don't know if it's a guy or a girl, so there are different connotations of that. So jokes apart, but yeah. Watching birds there are lots of birds in the mountains nowadays.
I think this is a time to get
Atul,
horses
there are
lot of
beautiful
horses.
birds that come at
Yes.
Ropar.
Ropar is a wetland. It's a wetland.
It's a wetland. So
Yeah.
migratory birds come there. Very beautiful birds.
Siberian
I was just
and all
joking
that.
to make all of you laugh.
Yeah.
So एक last question है जो मैं pick up करूँगा. एक question है कि a lot of people have a lot of talent but few succeed. Why? I think it's all about passion. It's about attitude. So सबसे important चीज attitude है. Teachers, students. We keep giving example of Kambli versus Tendulkar. Kambli was probably more talented than Tendulkar, but Tendulkar is what he is. It's all about attitude. I used to do a lot of hiring, Gurpreet ma'am, when I was in the corporate world in consulting. And the first thing we would test for was attitude. जिसका attitude अच्छा है, जिसमें शिद्दत है, दो चीजें, और जिसके values अच्छे हो, जो झूठ नहीं बोलते, honest हो. I think these are very, very important traits to succeed in life.
Gratitude is a very important.
Gratitude, humility, I think spirituality, they're very important.
Very important.
I want to tell you, Atul, that Rhea is now going to join you, and she's also the student of Bindu and Bhuna.
Yeah.
She studied from both of them.
She was. Yeah,
I just spoke to her half an hour
my
back.
son's classmate also. My son's classmate also.
She's very creative. She's very creative, as you are talking about.
Yes.
She is drawing, making. You know, the way she decorated the home. You know, it was unbelievable.
So you express your things out.
Yeah, she expresses very well. And when the child was brought from hospital, They were all awestruck, awesome. It was wonderful. Everybody was awestruck what she has done, how she has managed from scratch. There was hardly anything available at home, but the beautiful colors she brought into everything. So
Absolutely. So life, as you rightly said, Gurpreet ma'am, is all about creativity, and we forget that,
yeah.
in our day-to-day world. Thank you, everyone. I think it's time to say goodbye. We've taken 10 minutes extra, but the topic was so amazing, and we had such beautiful panelists, I think, between
and
three of
thanks for
you and
giving us
Narendra.
an opportunity to be with ma'am.
Thank you
Thanks for
for
giving us an opportunity.
Thank you,
same here,
to
same here.
the
Atul,
Narendra
can you give me a minute, just to talk about creativity? 1 minute.
Please go ahead. Please go ahead, Gurpreet ma'am.
We used to have,
Clubs.
clubs in the school, and it was Potter's Wheel basically. And Bindu, if I'll tell you, she was PGT chemistry. So what she did was, there was a lot of mud, and she brought the Potter's Wheel, and started making gamlas with that.
And
the
stone
children
creation
joined,
club.
and
Stone creation club.
Oh my God, what she created was amazing, I tell you. So
And we
this
came
is
first also. We came first also.
so this is what is creativity. Basically, you want to create something from your own mind. It should be very original, and if it is original, it will be beautiful. And anything, whatever comes to your mind, it can be about cooking, it can be about mending something, creating a picture, writing a poem, or any other thing, writing a story. It should be original, your own ideas. If you exhibit it, with all your emotions, you do wonderfully well. So this is what creativity is, right?
But I think, ma'am, but here I will say for all the teachers, like the way you said that we worked, maybe we had that connectivity, accountability, and we had that passion towards our school and that accountability, our kids, our school. So I think it is a
Sense of belongingness.
one message to all the teachers. Yes, and plus opportunity.
That is
Plus
opportunity.
Yeah.
I think sense of belongingness also, which is lot there in my now Gurukul schools also. All the Gurukul schools are doing very, very well, because of sense of belongingness.
But
And
ma'am, there's somewhere your leadership made a difference, ma'am. Your leadership made a difference.
And
You know what? I'm going to summarize it, ma'am, because I can see so much camaraderie between you. I can see so much love between you. Excitement is like, three teenagers coming together to share their ideas. But it's been, sorry, I have to sort of intervene. We can keep going on, and beautiful, beautiful session. I'm going back with Goose Pimples. Thank you, audience. You've been an amazing audience.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you for giving us this opportunity.
Bye.
Thank you.
So be safe and be happy, and don't worry. Be creative. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.